This old engine that came out of a 3/4 ton 4-bolt main 350, it spins. So let's see what we can do with this thing for little to no money and doing everything wrong. So let's get started. All right, so let's start with what we got here. This came out of a 3/4 ton 50 4-bolt main. It's already 40 over. She is been apart. She's been machined. So all I'm gonna do with this is we're just gonna clean this up, put some new parts in it, and yep, she gross. I kind of had a plan for this to begin with. That's why I left most of the pieces on, like the oil pump, and left most of the stuff in because it's already 40 over, and already being 40 over, she's pretty much done. I've bored them 60 before, but they never really worked out well. So, all right, I've done a little cleaning on it, and actually, honestly, these cylinders are really not too bad. You can't really feel anything with your fingers. Now this one and this one had water sitting in it when I took it apart. Been sitting there for a long time, but she spins free. Really, like I said, the cylinders are not that bad. I did run the numbers on this. This is an 80 to 84 4-bolt main GM passenger car block. Okay, so not too bad. Not a bad start. It is a passenger side dipstick instead of driver side dipstick, but it's 4-bolt main, and that's always a little stronger. But so we're going to continue to clean this up. The lifter bores and the lifter valley are really pretty good. None of them were stuck. All of them came right out, and the cam bearing actually looks pretty good. So all right, we're going to pull this main cap off, and yep, she's got the old sticky years and years and years worth of stuff. And let's see what we got here. We'll wipe it off. Well, she's got a little bit of stuff. She's got some pitting in it, but the crank flange, smooth as silk. So we're going to put this back on, and we're going to use it like it is. And we'll check this one, see if it's the same, but basically we're putting it back on. We're going to use it like it is. Okay, so I made an executive decision, and we're going to go with it like it is. I put it back together, put some lithium on the bearings we pulled. We double checked all the torques on everything. We retorqued these and pulled a couple rods. The rods look wonderful. So we're going to do this, but we did find out this is a 2020. So what we're going to do with this is we're just going to put this together and flog the shit out of it and beat on it and see how much abuse this will take. We're going to run this thing like it is. I feel like Renfield. Okay, guys, have you ever wanted to just do everything wrong and see what happens? Well, I got the opportunity. This is a motor I got for nothing, and I spent a couple of dollars, not a lot. Everything I got as cheap as I could for parts, and we're going to put this thing back together again as cheap as possible and as stupidly as you've always been told not to do. We're going to do it. And so, okay, we got the first cleaning done, which we got the majority of the junk off of it, especially just the dirt. And we got everything wiped off, cleaned up, down with WD-40. So we're going to let this sit and percolate for a little bit. But all in all, she's not in too bad a shape. I mean, there really is nothing in any of the cylinders that you would call bad at all. So you say you like electrical and computers and all that, but this mechanical stuff isn't your thing.
Well, it's not the mechanical stuff isn't my thing. I've never tore apart a motor.
Oh, okay. Well,
I've never done any of that. I've done full suspension builds. I've done tranny builds. I've done electrical builds. I've done computer wiring and all that crap. I've never done
an engine.
Motor.
Well, okay. Well,
because
okay.
the last motor we did together when I was around was my crate motor that went in the 79K10. And it puts the imprint on it, on the metal. Make this 10 times easier.
Because what we do for an engine that we're not going to rebuild, of course, we're going to give it a good paint job. Are we going to paint it? Of course. Chevy orange. Okay. And we're doing one thing that, you know, we're doing, what you don't do with an old, broken down old motor is you just put new paint on it, but we're putting new paint on it. We just happen to have the can. So that's what we're going to use. You guys are going to want to stick around for this. All right, smash that like button. So
once for dust, twice for rust.
Didn't turn out too bad. On the bottom side, paint job looks pretty good. All right, so let's flip it over and pull some paper on that side. I meant to tell you that there has not been a winner on the t-shirt contest yet. So watch the video from, it'll be right up here somewhere. And watch that video for her first pull in the truck at the Centerville Raceway and guess her time. If it's posted, the time posted on the remarks on that video, that qualifies you for a chance to win the t-shirt. And I already got oil pump, pickup tube, gasket set, cam, time and chain, lifters, springs, locks, retainers. I got all the kits. I got them as cheap as I could. I mean, let me tell you, having a son works in O'Reilly's, you can get some parts really cheap. Okay, so I mean, you'd be shocked and amazed the prices I got on some of this stuff. And so shocked and amazed at some of the prices that was even on his price was some of the things that have changed within the last 20 years. Like an oil pump pickup tube, which you used to be able to buy for $3.99, $4.99, is now $16. His cost, $16 for a pickup tube. Okay, I'm gonna do some work on the heads. We're gonna do a little bit of things that, you know, like things that nobody likes doing that you shouldn't do, but that I have kind of done in the past. But basically, this thing is going together under $500. So today we're gonna start with the internals, the camshaft, timing cover, things like that. But first thing we have to do is we have to take this off. All right, this is the old sprocket from the timing chain from what was originally in it. So we're going to set up puller. I'll show you how to do it, and we'll go step by step. Okay, now to pull one of these, the one thing you want to protect, I want to show you in here is this spot right here where that bolt, that harmonic balancer bolt screws in. You want to put something in there that protects those threads inside that snout, because that's the last thing you want to do is mess them up, because then you know your crankshaft is screwed. And this is just a 3-prong puller, and I basically just tapped them in from the backside because it was a little tight of a fit. And I'm just going to use a crescent wrench. And this is not one of those spots where you use where you go to using a impact. This is one of those spots where you're going to do this by hand, because you don't want to put the steroid jerk on this. And all we're trying to do is get this to pop loose, okay? And we're just coming in from behind. It's a very simple process, nice and slow. And as you can see, it's already moving because it is a press fit. And she's going to just slide right out. And if you wanted to, you could spray some WD-40 in there and help it move out. But this is doing just a fine job just now. All right. And once you get past a certain point, because basically they're heated when you put them on, and once you get past a certain point, it just pops right off, just like that. And it just slides right off. And then that protected those threads in there. And that is just a valve spring retainer, an old valve spring retainer off an old set of heads. And it does a really good job protecting those threads inside there. So, and that's your old one. Okay, and this is what we're going to use. This is a Cloy's heavy duty double roller timing chain. And we're just going to set this at 0, which it has. I'll take this out here and show you. Now, it's really a nice little unit, and it basically sets, because I've got that number 1 cylinder basically at top dead center, and so there is your 0 mark right there. You see it? That's all there is to it now, and it'll only go on one way. It'll only go on with the keyways. It'll only go on one way, and it's a really nice press fit, and so how do you get that up and over and where it needs to go? Well, these things, a lot of people do, they take a torch and they heat it up and they kind of slip it on, but we're not going to do that. Since we're going to do that, everything wrong. Oh, another thing I want to show you. Say, this is the front side, flat. This is the back side. There's a machined chamfer in there. And that's for, there is a lip on the snout of this crankshaft. So we're just going to drift this on. And if you want to, I like using a little bit of lithium to get it on. Any kind of grease will do. But I'm so old school, I just always use lithium. I don't know why, but I just always have used lithium. And just get it up and around. It'll squeeze itself out and clean itself up. It just seems to, a little bit of grease seems to just help everything move along. We'll just do the same thing on the sprocket itself. So we're just going to do that. Okay, and to go with the theme of doing everything incorrectly, instead of using, like boiling it, do whatever, I'm just going to use a drift, but I've got it wrapped in a piece of tape so that I don't take a chance on marring up that crankshaft. And we're just going to go round robin until we hear the thunk. And that's how you do that. That's all there is to it. All right, so now you got your new bottom sprocket on, and you protected your crankshaft with the tape on the end of it. So what's next? Camshaft. All right, this is the camshaft we're using, and every cam comes with a cam card, and right there, advertised duration 288, 298. So I always have liked split durations, heavy on the exhaust, because exhaust, they run 70% of what the intake does, and a valve with a 1.5 rocker arm. So if I wanted to spend the money and buy a 1.6, so we're talking more like a 460 lift and a 485 lift, somewhere around that range, which the springs that I got with this are for up to 490. So it'll work. But I want to talk about this. This is old trick, and I'll show you what these bolts are all about when we put this in the. Okay, I'm going to get you in here real close because I've got the end snipped on the assembly lube, and this is where it gets messy, and you're going to get your hands messy, so make sure that your hands are clean. And let's finish snipping this off here. Okay, and there's not a lot in this package, so we're going to put it where we need it, and it says especially cam gear, and make sure you get it on the lobes. All right, and this is where you just get in there and get messy. Okay, it's going to get everywhere, but this is necessary for the job. Okay, so we want it all over all of these cam lobes, every nook and cranny of each cam lobe, including the ones going in to on the cam bearings themselves. Okay, even though they're broke in already, this is really uber sticky. It actually feels like anti-seize. Okay, that's what this feels like, which is good. This is all the abrasive that everything, and you're just going to slip it in, and we're going to go nice and slow, and you want to support it as you go, okay? So you're going to lift it and just kind of bring it in. Sometimes the cam lobes hit. Okay, so your first line in, so you can stop here. All right, so you take your, since you already got a hand dirty, it's just like a tube of toothpaste, and we're going to get it. Actually, I want to get this off. I'm just pulling this off. Okay. And we're just going to dab it, and then we're going to rub it all over the place. And I'm probably not going to fire this thing off for a while, but this is the whole process. You want to make sure and get it on every inch of this camshaft, and then also on to the next lobe that the cam bearing is going to go on. Okay. All right. And again, okay, now this is starting where these bolts are come in handy, because you know I can handle it like this as I'm putting it in, but once I get to this last section, there's nothing to grab a hold of, and that's what these bolts do. They create the handle, because it's going to be the last one is always the worst. Okay, so here we go. Here goes the next one, and then we're in. All right, and then we stop again with the cam lube. All right, like I said, all over the place, and like I said, this feels exactly like anti-seize. All right, in, all the way around, every lobe, including where it runs on the cam bearing, every lobe. Make sure it's right. Okay. All right. You can spin it if you need to, because you're saddled into the cam bearing, because they're equally spaced. All right. They're equally spaced. So I'm sitting on 3 out of the 5 cam bearings right now. Okay. So, and it spins freely, and it actually wants to come out because this engine is leaning a little bit to the bottom. Okay. So there we go. All right. Here we go. Going to go in, support it. It's sometimes they're going to, the actual be, when you get to a larger cam, you have to kind of wiggle it, because you're going to feel it. This cam lobe right here, you're going to feel this cam lobe actually like contact the surface where that cam bearing is sitting. Okay, so you got to kind of like just wiggle it around a little bit just to get it past where it needs to go. All right, here we go. Here's that, and it says that's pretty much the whole tube. And I'm going to put one on here, some on here, and some on the end here. All right, so that looks like it's just about the end of the package. All right, then we're going to save a little bit of that and probably buy another one for the bottom of the lifters. Okay, but right now we're just going to do this, and then we'll set this over here on the table. All right, we'll spread this around on this one. You can, like I said, you can spin it. Make sure you get it everywhere. And this right here, this here is your cam lobe for your fuel pump rod. Right? So make sure you put some on it. Make sure you got it spun. Make sure you got lube every bit of that cam lobe, because this is the most important. A brand new one, you're going to make sure you get this on there. And like I said, we're going to add it to the bottom of the lifters also, just to make sure. And then last one is right here. All right. Make sure we got full coverage on the whole thing. Okay. Now I'm going to stand up for this. This is the one that's usually pretty hard to do. And make sure you get a good handle, a grab on it, because she's going to slip out. She's going to slip. And then you just a wiggle. Boom. And we're in. You're all the way back up against the back, spinning freely. And you've now just installed a camshaft. And yeah, looked like you jerked off an elephant. Okay, and then once you have it installed, you can just unscrew your bolts right here, just like this. And that's your handle. And these are just old ones I had, just laying around, just stuff. And it's I don't even know what size that is, but I just have a big bolt bin and I found a couple to do. And so now we're going to take the timing chain and we're going to spin this around a little bit. Use our harmonic balancer and just spin it around where this is straight up, because you want that 0 right there. That 0 right there, you want it straight up and down at 12 o'clock, because your timing set is going to have a mark on it at 6 o'clock and you have to match them up. So let's get this straightened out. All right, and we'll just take the old clunky harmonic balancer. You know, we got to move this so I can actually see it here in between the balancer. We're just going to move it till it's 12 o'clock straight up, just like that. All right, and then your timing set again has one mark on it right there, and that one lines up with that mark, and then you know that your camshaft is timed. So let me find the, I got some cam bolts sitting laying around here in a package somewhere. Let me find them and we'll show you how to do this. I save a lot of things, and cam bolts. Okay, so on this, you know, you got your mark and you got your dowel pin, and it has to line up. So most generally the dowel pin is going to be sitting about 3 o'clock. Okay, this pin right here to match up with the dowel pin, because these have to have bolts go through them. Okay, so the easiest way to do this is you come from the bottom and you work your way on, because a double roller doesn't have any give. Okay, so we're going to go from the bottom, and I got the cam lined up where I think it ought to be, and then we're going to take and just kind of wiggle it in place, because a double roller timing chain set doesn't have any forgiveness. It doesn't have, there's not a lot of movement involved. All right, so right now we're sitting pretty good. All right, boom. All right, so I'm off. See, I wasn't even paying attention. I'm down here off on the bottom. All right, so I have to take this back out. Oops, and you don't want to take cam with you, so be careful when they're tight. We'll do this, and I know I got to move one tooth over, and that should be right on right there. So then we're going to take a cam bolt and we're going to put it in the hole just to hold it in place, and we're going to look and see if we got anything binding, and if we're hitting, and we're not. So this is the way the mark should look. Okay, she's pretty close. Once I tighten it up, because that tooth will be with that tooth and that mark, so that's zeroed. All right, and we'll put this one in place just to put it in place. All right, so but we got one more thing we got to do. We have to, these, if you can buy a little plate and you can bend the tab over to keep them locked in, but I've always just used Permatex blue, thread locker blue, not red. I use blue because this is kind of forgiving. This will hold it enough where it won't rattle loose in the engine. If you use red on one of these, you're grinding them off and to get this apart. So okay, so I just use a little blue. All right, and it doesn't take a lot. It's just a little bit on the threads. That's it. That's all it takes right there. Boom. A little blue. Now, if you're running a hydraulic cam and you didn't need any movement this way, you put a button in there. But we're not doing that. We're just using the regular flat tapping cam, which makes it not necessary, because the timing chain itself cover will keep this in place. And besides, the double roller will keep it straight. All right, and then it's just a 1/2 inch bolt. You just thread it in and lock it in. And they say inch pounds this, inch pounds that. No. You just tighten it up till it stops. And then you give it a day. And the thread locker will hold them in place. Okay, so and I really didn't have a narrow piece of wood, so I improvised a little bit. I've got this one piece here, goes all the way across the table, but it's just so you're going to support this surface while you tap the new one in. And you can double check your work on the back side, make sure she's all the way seated, and give it a couple more taps on just to make sure she's even. And I'll show you how even it is, nice and even, and she's completely seated on the backside. And you've just now put you a new seal in your timing cover. And check out UncleBuckStuff.com. There's a link down below. This is the new Uncle Buckweiser t-shirts that just come out. I got them all the way up to 4X, and I got them in white and gray. And I'm working for a different design for a blue and a black shirt. So check it out. Link down below. Y'all have a great day. Which I've always run milling. All these years, 40 years, it's always been milling. And this is just a standard pump. This is not a high pressure pump, high volume pump. This is just a standard stock replacement pump. Because we're going to run this on the street. A little bit of strip action, but wasn't going to spend the $80 for a high volume, where I'm spending not a lot to stay under the $500 to go just a regular volume, because the oil pump is run off the camshaft. That's where the spinning action in the pump comes, is the back gear off the camshaft, and it's very basic. We're not putting nylon on right now because we have to get this new dipstick tube, or this new pickup tube. We need to get it in the right position and locked down before we put the pan on. So all we're going to do is tighten this down like this, and I'll put a little bit of squeeze on that with the rod. But back in the day, and this is, I hate to say this, but back in the day when we were broke and kids, what we would do is if we had one that was decently clean, we would take that base plate off of the old oil pump, put a new bottom side of the oil pump, and use that base plate over again, and just unbolt it, take it off with the pickup tube already in it, because we knew it was the spacer was right for the pan. So you always use the same pan, but it was really dumb, but we never got hurt. And this is as simple as it comes, and this just basically you're going to have to wedge it in there and give it a couple of taps with a hammer, and then I'll show you how to set this using the new pan. The tight machine fit. It's designed for you to have to force it in there and it lock itself in. So I took a little 1000 grit on the end here just to get it started. And basically all you got to do is you're just going to work it back and forth and just get you some grip. Just like this, okay? That's not where we're going to leave it. So as you saw, this is as old school as it comes. So now that it's started, I'm going to get it started just a little bit more, but we're not going to finish this here. We are going to finish this on the vise. Okay, so we're going to take this off. We're going to take it over to the vise, and we're going to finish getting it drifted in because I don't want to do that with this. The size of the stud ended up being the same size as the, so whatever it is, whichever one you find, the one that fits the best and use it, because you want as tight of a grip here like this to be able to force it in the best. All right, we'll just lay that there. Pull this back off.
No, we said not to touch the fresh painted parts.
That ain't freshly painted part.
No, I just put some paint on the cardboard.
Yeah, right here. Not right here. That's what I did the other day.
Semantics.
Boy, just be quiet. All right, and we want to find the spot in this where she's completely supported, but not on the machine surface. As you can hear it, that's the pump vanes in there moving around inside the pump. So I want to have this basically, we are going to do this with it. The beefiest part of the housing, right there like that. That's where we're going to go. And we're just going to use this to be able to put some pressure on that and hammer straight down into a solid surface. And then we're just going to do this. And then we'll trade sides, because that's actually starting to get press itself onto that little deal. Make sure that you're solid in there in between the vise and not anything that's important.
All right, Didio, what did we just do?
All right, now we took the existing rod that was in it, and this comes in the kit. Oop, and I just dropped it. It's basically a nylon sleeve, and it's unisex. It goes either way, and you just slide it in, and then this slides into the groove like this and clicks into place. And that's what drives your, like I said, the distributor gear is driven by the cam, and then if you look in the bottom of the distributor, there's a little groove with a little rod through it, and that's what clicks in here, and that's what drives your oil pump and pulls oil from here, presses it through here and through the system, and then it deposits it back through the oil pan, picks up by a tube, and it's just a rotation. And then this slips.
Wow, that's a lot of blue.
Yep, that's lovely. Oh yeah, and I messed up, got the wrong gasket set. I got the gasket for the 78, but this is an 80 to 84 block, and it has the passenger side dipstick. So of course, I had the wrong pan gasket. So we went down to where?
O'Reilly's.
And then this just slides in. The oil pump just slides in that slot right there. All right, and you just put it back in place. And then we're going to torque this. I'll throw a little bit of lube on top of this bolt, and we'll torque this in place. And then we're ready to put the pan on. Okay, so what we ended up having to do, we did this method with this, but it was a two-man job, and I used the small hammer to place here and smack it with the larger hammer to drift it down. It took about what? 10 hits?
Like 10 seconds?
Yeah, but 10 hits. We got to get the spacing of this right. And the easiest way to do that is we mark it up a little bit higher than what you think it's going to be, which normally they're pretty flat. So we're just a little bit above what normal is. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this, and actually that's not even good enough. So we're going to have to raise this up a little bit to get this right. So it will move, not a lot, but it will move. You don't have to move it a lot. What we're trying to do is contact this lip with this pan, and then we'll find a surface and we'll move it about 1/4 inch. And that's all there is to it. All right, so we're gonna keep doing this until it sits. See, there we go. We're above the pan. See how the pan's sitting? All right, so then we're just going to take the pan. Okay, so, all right, so that is, without any gaskets, metal against metal, the spacing for this pan. All right, and we take this back off, and that's where we need to be. Now, gaskets are going to pinch, so you can't really rely on that being enough space underneath that pan surface for this to pick up oil. So basically, what we did back in the day was 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. Never hurt us. We never starved an engine for oil. Never had, on acceleration, oil pressure issues with it not picking up oil, because actually this brand new pan has got a pretty good little sump in it. This is sealed. So there's not a lot of, the drainage is coming right back in, right into the pan. So on acceleration for a street engine, which is going to give a little give, it isn't pulling 6 Gs like a dragster. This should be just fine for picking up oil, but we need to move this down a little bit. So, okay, now all we're going to do is we're going to measure from a surface that's stable, and the easiest way to do that is right here off of this bolt head. So, take my glasses off so I can see good and straight. And we're just going to tap this down. Right now we're sitting. Oh, I can decide this got to. Okay, and we're just going to move it 1/4 of. We'll go 3/16. Right about right there. That's all I got to do. That's it. I split the difference. I did 3/16 of an inch between an 1/8 and 1/4. And that should be, once you put the gaskets on and the end gaskets on and seal everything up, that should be good spacing for good oil pickup for that pump off of this pan. And that's how you do that. That's all there is to it. Okay, I took the harmonic balancer and I spun it around a couple times, and she's smooth and normal. Okay, so, but I lined it back up to number 1 top dead center. Right there, number 1 top dead center. Okay, so the next thing is the timing cover. And why the timing cover? Because you can't put the oil pan on without having the timing cover in place. It's kind of like one of those you have to do. Okay, so now that we have a new seal in the timing cover, we got to get the gasket and the gasket sealer out. And this is what the timing cover gasket looks like. And it actually just goes right in here in place. But we're going to silicone this. And there's dowel pins here on both sides where you can't get it in the wrong place. And this is unisex. There's no right or wrong, front or back. But I always just have been in the mind of a blue stripe. If you have a blue stripe, which this is, you can see the stripes on it, always put the stripes out facing you. That's what I've always done. And we're just going to use a little simple black RTV in here, and we'll break this open. And this is one of those that's so cheap that it didn't even come with a little end on it. So we're just going to do this the old-fashioned way. That's right. Now this doesn't have to be a lot, just enough to basically stick it, because there isn't a lot of oil pressure involved here. There's slingage. I mean, it's going to sling oil through here, but what's going to be slinging the oil is going to be the timing chain itself. Because it just basically sits in a bath of the oil down here. So there isn't any pressure involved. You're just trying to keep your engine bay clean. I don't put it on heavy. You're putting it on just enough to get the gasket to stick. And you can just stick it in place and use the dowel pins to hold it where it needs to go, just like this. All right, line it up with the holes. Okay, and then what we're going to do, we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to take the RTV and we're going to spread it on this side of the paper too. Then we'll put the timing cover on. And of course, me being the saver that I am, I have lots of these little bolts everywhere, and we'll just get some gas. Now, some guys will take this gasket and do this before they stick it on. It's 6 of one, half a dozen other. That's all it is. It's just your own personal preference of what you've done or what your dad showed you. And that's really the sad part about this. Do you know there's a lot of young guys out there that don't have a dad showing them this kind of stuff? And so it kind of makes me proud to know that I can help out some of the younger set, because according to my demographics, I get 10% of my demographics is 13 to 17-year-olds. The rest of you guys, other percentages are higher with everybody up all the way up to 65 years old. But I'm very popular with the younger gentlemen, but they're learning, but they want to learn. They just, some of them don't have the they're not lucky enough to have a father or a father figure around, or to teach them how to do just general basic maintenance on a car. Wipe our hands off because silicone gets everywhere. And then we're gonna put this on. Use the dowel pins, press it in place. See, silicone gets everywhere. Shoot. Okay. We want it clean. Even though this is kind of a goofy build, we still want it clean. So, and it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just 10 bolts, 10 little small 7/16 small ones. They got their 7/16 headed. Yeah, see, silicone gets everywhere. Anyways, so I'll clean my hands some more, and we'll get these bolts put in. Okay, now even though we got the one-piece rubber oil pan gasket that we trimmed this side for, we are still going to give this some silicone. And it's going to be, because these are, even though it's a one-piece seal, these are still problematic. So we're going to go silicone the whole perimeter, up and over, and especially block. Now the pan, probably not. Okay, so I've just always, even though this is a one piece, I've got silicone underneath the whole perimeter, but I've always still put silicone for the pan rounds, because that seems to be the biggest problem. And so we're going to use these little funky dunky little corner pieces, pan holders, and basically, if I understand how these work correctly, you just kind of like wiggle it on, and remember you got to, you got to come in from the front because of the oil pump pickup. Yep, and then you just put it on the studs. Just wiggle it to get it on,
just like that,
and then you just press, and it locks it in place. Wow, that works pretty good. So now it comes with, because this was a one piece, it comes in a kit, and all the new nuts, all the new bolts, and the star washers are in the kit, so we can go ahead and put them on. Okay, pans on, and these are all supposed to be inch, pound, torqueage. We ain't doing all that. They're just hand tight, good solid hand tight, and I work from the inside out. So you start with these two, go to these two, just like a cylinder head, and you just work yourself way out. And tighten the outside edges last. Wiped off the extra silicone, but them little one-piece jobbers, they're pretty cool. They work pretty good. Alright, we had to buy some new stuff, which is the harmonic balancer, which we are given a coat of paint. Make sure whenever you're doing this, tape off the snout, because that's the part that runs in the seal for the timing cover. Dipstick tube, getting the coat of paint, and then we'll just let this run inside and out. And then we also had to buy one of these, because the one that I had done, wrong side for the dipstick. This is the passenger side dipstick because it's an 80 to 84. That's an original one for, that will fit that engine that's under all the cover there, but that is an earlier model, or a later model. And so I ended up can't use that one. I had to buy one of these, and because he works at O'Reilly's, we got it like dirt cheap. So with everything, with the new pan and the new harmonic balancer, or the new dampener, because there's a difference between a balancer and a dampener. That's the dampener. we are still under $500. Okay, so we need to put this harmonic balancer on, and it's just kind of tapped on right now with the hammer. So we went down to O'Reilly's and we borrowed this kit, and it is
Part number 67006.
okay, and these are for sale at O'Reilly's, and we might actually buy one of these. But okay, how this works is it has all the different attachments, and so this is the one that fits the snout here on the balancer, right? So, and it also has a center. I gotta take it apart. So, okay, so the tip, you got to find the right tip, and there's an assortment of them. There's a whole bunch of them. There's about 8 of them in there. So you find the right tip for the snout of the crankshaft you have, and then this sleeve is the one that the bearing and the nut go into. That's a race bearing, and the nut goes into, and then this slips in side, and the piece slips inside like that. Okay, and that piece threads onto that main bolt. So you have the fitting, the bolt, and the sleeve for the whole assembly. And now this threads in here to the snout of the crank. And like everything else, once he gets this snug down, this is just a simple, we're just going to use a...
Yeah. Front
Okay.
side's on this side.
Okay, so
Round.
flat, yeah, okay. Precise military fashion. Okay. All right, now all we're going to do is go get the big crescent. So the first thing he has to do is he has to tighten this down. Just snug, okay. All right, if you're here and you're watching, check out UncleBuckStuff.com for some merch. Like, share, subscribe, smash that button, hit that bell, tell your friends. Y'all be good. Mine is jammed shut. What'd you do?
I didn't do anything.
It wasn't jammed shut before. I was
shut now.
okay. So we're gonna, and it's just crescent on crescent, and we're just gonna basically use, yep, and this is where you're just gonna spin it in. And
Once you feel it start to move, like the initial first spin to get it to line up with itself is the hard one. Once it starts to move, it just kind of slides on.
And this is again one of those where you don't use the impact. You do this by hand. Just get the biggest crescent wrench you can, or the biggest wrench you can. You're just sliding it in, and it'll actually it's already moving.
It'll should seat itself, honestly. It's just putting it on flat, and then just half turns at a time, quarter turns at a time if you want. Hear that seal wheezing, like get skinny.
I'm glad you talked me into doing this way instead of just taking a hammer to it.
Hey, well, good for you, you know.
That's actually working pretty damn good.
Yeah.
If you're still here, like, share, and subscribe, smash that button, hit that bell, tell your friends. And that it just stopped, and that's that is how you install a harmonic balancer with a harmonic balancer installation tool. And the same company that brought me those brought me these. All right, now just for simplicity and for use, these things are the best. I mean, these are going over to my sister's house to the pool, and you could basically chain link dozens of speakers on this, but it's Bluetooth. You can download, you can use whatever music you have on your phone, find a radio station and run it through your phone. These are dynamite. Studiophonics, thumbs up. Again, another home run. Again, remember there'll be a link down below for these because these are the best I've had. They will rattle your teeth. They're so loud. These are 600 watts. These are 200 watts. And these aren't as loud, but they are crisp and they're clean. They ain't got much bass, but boy, they sound good too. Tell your friends. Studiophonics. I'm telling you, these things are great. These things are great. I tell you, they keep sending me stuff. No strings attached. They stand by their products. These are dynamite. I love them. These are the heads we're going to use. Now, these are, I can't remember what these are. These are 487X heads with the big ports already in them, but we're going to make those better. They aren't the big valves. They're the smaller valves, but we're going to water test these, and we're going to relap them. And I bought springs. I just wanted to show you the difference between the two. This is just a brush job, just with the drill and a brush. And this is what we're starting with. They're a really good flowing set of heads, but they're rough and they're dirty. And yeah, you can tell this is just a quick once over with a razor blade and a brush. And this one still got some material on it, some rust that I need to take off. But this is basically the way this is the way this one started. Good, and we're gonna use these. So I'll bring you along in the process of doing these heads. Without going with aftermarket head, this is one of the better ones you can get. They don't have the big valves, but for the lift numbers and the flow and the RPM range, it really doesn't make that much of a difference. So we're gonna be working these, which are, these are factory 70s, the 375, 350 horsepower GM X heads, as opposed to a pair of 882s, which 882s are not bad heads, but they have to be worked a lot to get them to flow good, as well as these came out of the factory. See, this hasn't been touched. This is the way they come factory. And this is the way a regular standard smog head comes out. And you have meat and all kinds of meat, and the ports are shorter. As you can tell when I move this, there's a lot of material that's still sitting in there, and when you do that to this one, there isn't anything left. Okay, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna number them all, because what hole this comes out is what hole it's got to go back into. Okay, so there's no messing around. There's no flip flopping them. There's no nothing. So 111, 222, 333, 444. I highly recommend doing this, and we're doing one head at a time, not both. We're leaving that one together so that we don't get parts mixed up. Okay, so let's pull these valves. Okay, I just want to get you a shot here of exactly how well this works. Okay, so we're just putting it on the cup, right? It's got a spread on it. You can see it's got a spread on it. We're just putting it on the cup, right? We're taking up the slack with this handle, and then we're just pressing her shut. And we're just, now this is not, this is not air driven or anything like that, but we're just using leverage to open it up. See? And then we'll pull the cup. There, and where's the other one? Right. Sometimes they can be sticky. There's the other one. All right. Then we'll take our pick, and we're going to pick loose this valve seal. Ooh, okay. These have been worked a little bit. Now this is not your normal. This is the first intake one I took off. And this is an aftermarket job. This is after effect. So they used newer style valve seals for the intakes and different for the exhaust. And oh, that was a good sign. Okay, let me show you. Watch this. Stick your finger over the hole, and the end of the valve is on my finger, right? That's a good, that pop. That means she's riding, she's in good. Yeah, okay. That's a good sign. Number 4. All right, try that with the exhaust. She creates a vacuum. I mean, yep, she got a good seal. Okay, we're gonna do the rest of these, and then we'll go from there. We'll clean these up, and we'll keep moving forward. Some of these are pretty tough. Some of these don't want to give. Yep. Rust. Well, I just want to tell you, a half a keeper will hold it in place. So I thought I had both of them off. Didn't have it off, but the other keeper, the half a keeper kept it in place. So, but we don't want to do that. We want to put both the keepers on it when we put these back together again. This rust, there's nothing wrong with these. They're gonna seal. It's just a matter of buffing them out. So all right, this is what we ended up with on this head. Okay, so by normal, yep. It's actually had new guys put in it. Rust, which is just all surface. There's nothing going through. We'll clean that all up. Rust because of water coming through. And then the ends, this one's not too bad either. So, but it's all cleanable. But you have to be careful, cleanable, because this is the surface where the valves are running right here. Okay, so, and this is just coming off with my finger. But we'll take a simple wire brush by hand, not the power brush, and we'll get in here. We'll clean all this rust out, and then we'll flip it over and do a little bit of port work. But that's what we're going to do with this. We're going to clean these up by hand, maybe with a drill, but not with that. We are not going to go to town with that on them bowls. We're going to leave that be. We're just going to do this by hand. These have been together a long time. There we go. And it's probably going to break, if not, but, ooh, yeah. Okay. That's your valve stem seal on the keeper, between the keepers themselves, which are right there. And then you have the umbrella seal, which is right here. And that's hard as a rock too. So these are pretty old. And that's your umbrella seal on the valve itself. All right, so I'm bringing this out. This is an exhaust, and just putting it back in the hole just to see. Yep, she's pretty tight. Okay, so there we go. So let's do some more. I'll do this one up front here so you can see it clear. All right. It's just a matter of you just pressing it, and you closing the valve, and you're grabbing the keepers. All right. And you're releasing the valve. It keeps it from flying off into the sunset. All right. And then you have this here. This is your valve stem seal for the keepers. That's going to break because this is so old. These are so old. They're so hard and brittle. All right. And then this comes out. And then that's number 4. That goes on the table. And we're going to do this to the rest of them. Just wanted to give you a quick cleaned, not cleaned, and all of them look like that. So I just got the wire brush on the bench, and I'm just going each piece by piece. There's still 1, 2, 2. These were bad. 3. 3. And this is 4 and 4. And I'm just going one at a time. You start on one end, you go to the other one. You don't stop until you're finished. All right. That way you don't get them mixed up, because I still got them 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Very, very important. Do not mix them up. Okay, and I just used I have just a spare piece of wood there, and I just set these up, and this is just a guideline for me. And so all we're going to work is this corner here, these 4 corners, okay? Because they're the only ones that are basically sticking out. So I'm just going to blend this a little bit on, maybe a little bit here too. But we're just going to work these these top corners, because it's upside down right now. The bottom corners are pretty much spot on. We'll just give a little skim because there's some rough spots. And then we'll be done with just the port matching on this. And this is from Harbor Freight. And I've had it forever. And I got my eye protection on, hearing protection, because this is very loud. All right. And then we're just going to turn this thing on and go down. And that's all it takes. That's how much. There's just not a much material that needs to come off of these. So and that's all we did. That took what? 2 minutes? And we just cleaned it up. Took the burrs off of it, and we'll just show you the difference. See, here and here, and a little bit of burrage, and that took 2 minutes to clean that up. We took this corner out, and I would say that's pretty good. That's going to flow more air. Be just a little bit cleaner than the factory, because this is all factory. They weren't meticulous with this. They made thousands and thousands and thousands of these castings, and they just slapped them together, and if it has stuff like this on it, it was never going to be seen, so they just went with it. Okay, I just wanted to bring you in here real quick and just show you kind of what I did. Now, because these were a little bit bigger, I blended back in here, and I blend a little bit on the top side on all of these, and right now this edge is sharp, so that's not a bad thing. And then I blended here because that was I take a little bit of material off there, and this is just a simple taking all the burrs off. And I really didn't spend a lot of time, didn't have to take the valves out so we can get some daylight in there and see where we can clean up and blend up and make it actually just flow air better. Because as you know, or if you don't already know, an engine is just an air pump. All right. So the more air you can go into that cylinder, the more efficient it is, the smoother it goes, the more power you're going to make off of just changing a set of heads. Okay. Heads are where you make your power, unless you're doing a power adder. But if you're naturally aspirated, then you're going to make the most power if you spend the most time and attention on heads. All right, and I want to go over one other thing while I'm here. I'm using ear protection, eye protection, hand protection, and I'm wearing long sleeves because this thing shoots little red hot pieces of cast iron out at you at 30,000 RPMs, okay? Whatever this RPM thing is, whatever it is, it's flying, and it's hot, and if you get it in your eye, you're getting it dug out by the doctor. So this is all about protection. Now, the cartridge rolls, not too bad, but when you're removing material, when you're using that carbide bit and you're removing material from a set of heads, you wear your protection. Here endeth the lesson. All right, if you're here and you're watching, check out UncleBuckStuff.com for some merch. Like, share, subscribe, smash that button, hit that bell, tell your friends. Y'all be good. Actually, I'm going to use a second piece of wood, get a better angle. There we go. Ugh. There we go, better angle. All right, that's all we're going to do there with the cutter bit. And we'll see what this looks like real quick. Oh yeah, much better. And line up the bolt holes like butter. So that's pretty good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this part and we're going to pop the valves out of this, and then we're going to take the carbide rolls to it and just clean the inside of these up and just smooth them out even a little bit better, so they even flow just a little bit better. Okay, I just want to get you in here and show you what I've got done. Now, this is by no means a professional job. I'm just a ham and egg guy, but this is just the things you can do at home with a $20 set of cartridge rolls and a $15 die grinder, and you can actually take a good set of heads and turn them into a really good set of heads. Okay, but it's you just going in and you're just knocking down all the high spots. I just took the cut and just opened them up a little bit on the top side. That's all that had to be done. And then we took the cartridge rolls. I did the main hits with the die grinder from this side first, but then I used this on the drill inside the bowls, and just to clean them out and to straighten them up and to get them done. Now I want to tell you about this spot right here. This spot right here. This is an edge. That was a sharp edge underneath the valves. Still got to do that side. So I'm just doing one head at a time. Like I said, all the valves are lined up here. Nothing's getting moved around, so everything goes back into place. All right, and I just came in here with the cartridge rolls, and I just finished smoothing all the burrs off, because these are cast material. This is not CNC machined out. They made thousands of these daily, so this is just a casting process. Molten metal goes in, and they just did just enough to get it cleaned up where it went on the truck. So these were good, but they weren't great. Okay, this is not like aftermarket today, but you just, as you can tell, see the casting line? Watch, it's right about right here. Watch, see the casting line? Every port has that casting line. Now I didn't blend them completely out, because this is just a quickie job. It's not going to affect the flow. It's just that's the two different pieces of pores to make these heads. And all I did was go in here and I clean out. Now you see the dimples? Right there. Let me see if I can get you a hit. See if I can get focus. But all along in here, see it? See the dimple right there? Okay. It's right here. All along in there. See it? Dimple. See it? Dimple. Okay. So they're here. They're there. They're up in here. There's little dimples all through here that you can blend out and make just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. And like I said, this can be done. These 487X heads are excellent heads, okay, from the factory. And this is what the intakes look like. One, see, I still got my numbers on them. And I just cleaned them up to where they're all smooth. If you feel them, see the dimples? See them? Okay, they're pretty much gone. But if you feel in there, there's no sharp edges. There's no abrupt ledges, which makes the smoother it is, the better it flows, okay? So this is going to push air real nice. Even though they're not the big valves, they're still big enough, okay? So this is going to make a ton more power than pretty much anything else you're going to have for just an old set of heads. All right, so that's basically, and all I'd use was, when you get around the valve seats, I don't mess around with the die grinder. I use a drill on high speed, and so you can control it. You got a nice handle. It's nice and big. You can move it around, and all you got to do is just smooth it out. Just get your finger in there, feel it. If you feel something rough, whether you got to lay it down this way or lay it down that way, whichever way you got to lay it down, get to it, smooth it out, and you're good. Okay, I just want to get you in here and show you what this looks like once they're done. I got my little flashlight here. Just have so this little flashlight just fits perfect in that port. But that's what you're looking to do. Now it's not, you know, 100%, but you can't even feel that it's there because of the casting, but she's clean, smooth. There's no roughness anywhere. And I did that on all of them, nice and clean. Now I did work the exhaust a little bit, clean them up around the edges, just took all the junk off, but they're all like this, and they all are done. And so a good set of heads can become a great set of heads with 3 or 4 hours worth of work. Because like I said, I didn't have to cut any of these. These were already big enough. Clean them all up. So now, just an afternoon, taking your time with a drill and die grinder, you can make some serious horsepower. You can make some good horsepower. Fun to drive, snappy, peppy, got some balls, you can lay into it and it'll run. Okay, what we're going to do is we are going to basically flat sand this. Now, what I've done is basically on this piece of pipe, I have sanded both these sides flat. All right, with a 17-inch flat board. So they may not look it, but it's flat. You can't see no daylight. So that's good enough for government work. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of sandpaper and we're going to wet sand this with WD-40 just to knock it down. And we're going to do the same thing on the block. We're going to do the same thing on the intake surface. So the mating surfaces here and on the block, this is what I'm going to use. And I've double checked this. If you want to know how to do this, you take your square that's over there, you hold it up to the light, see if you can catch any daylight in any spot on this. And if you don't, I consider that good enough to do this job. Okay, so what I've done is I've marked it, the flat side, and we're basically just going to use this to sand that. And I just got a couple pieces of tape on it to keep the sandpaper from sliding. And we're just going to give it a little bit of a hit. And we're just going to sand this up a little bit. We're just going to flat sand this a little bit. We're just going to knock all the high spots down. Start screaming, guys. Start hollering. Oh my God, we're doing everything wrong. Oh my God, we are doing everything wrong. Oh my Lord, he's doing everything wrong. He's ruining that block. Oh Lord, he's ruining it. Oh Lord, he is ruining that thing. Oh, it's never going to seal. Well, I guess you're going to have to stick around to the end to see what happens, ain't you? All right, and that's all there is to it. We'll spray her down real quick again. Take a rag. Wipe her off. Old material gone. The rust, smooth. Look at here. Oh, it's just terrible. It might be discolored, but it's smooth as a baby's ass. And just 1,000 grit, and that's all it takes. And we're going to do the same thing on the other head, and we'll take this, and we'll spin it around. We'll do the same thing here. Give it a little bit of a hit. Get it on this side. Just give it a quick once over. Nice and flat. Just to mate the surface. Even though she's moving around a little bit. You guys gonna scream it to the ceiling. It won't seal. It won't seal. Well, like I said, I guess you're just gonna have to stick around to the end to see what happens. While you're here and you're watching, check out UncleBuckStuff.com. Check out a hat, a t-shirt. As you can see, I got the new design on, Uncle Buckweiser. So, basically, the only thing I have in this whole thing is some WD-40, some cartridge rolls, and a little bit of electricity. And I'm rebuilding these heads and made them better than what they were. Ooh, smooth, like I said, smooth as a baby's ass. Those are going to seal just fine. All right. And that's how you can do that. And the WD-40 gets everywhere, and you can help that to clean it off a little bit. Water displacement. This is the first time WD-40 has been used on these. So, and I didn't mistake. I took that paint marker right off. So I marked 1, 2, 3, and 4, just in case. So I know which one valves to go back in. Okay, to continue the home decking, we're going to do this here. And I spun the sandpaper. Like I said, we're just doing 1,000 grit. We're doing 1,000 grit right here. And we're just knocking off the crud. That's all we're doing. The WD-40. Go around the pin. Nice and easy. And we're just knocking off the haze. That's all we're doing. That's all we're doing. We're just knocking off the color. We're just working the surface. That's all we're doing. All right. That's it. And we'll wipe her off. Wipe her off, wipe her down. Wipe the cylinders out. Wipe the crevices around. Oh, yeah. That'll be more than plenty to help that thing seal. Okay, now that I got them decked and I got them where I want them and they're smooth, now we got to lap them in. And the easy way to do that is with this valve grinding compound. And it's a very simple process. We're just going to go one at a time. We're going to lap them all in. And on this stuff, it doesn't take much. It really doesn't take a lot of compound to get what you need, all right? It actually just gooped out at me. But it's just a grinding compound. And it's very gritty. And you just get it where it needs to go. And you put that valve back in its place. All right? And then we're going to do it. We're going to do it backward style. And we're going to go slow speed. Doesn't have to be fast. Doesn't take a lot of pressure. Let's see. All right. We'll take our little towel. And we'll wipe her off. And we'll wipe her off. And we'll see if we got a nice seat. Look at there. Look at that. Looky there. Look at that, nice. See right there, look at that valve. She grinding in real nice. All right. We're going to continue one more time. Pulls itself right off. There's our nice shiny surface, and there's our nice shiny surface. Nice and cut. And this is water soluble, so it'll come back out. But that's all there is to it. And that's how you do that. So we got a real nice seal on that one. And we'll take a little bit of the ground compound. This is actually really thin stuff. And it is real gritty. It's real gritty. So just get it where it needs to go. Put your valve in place. Wipe off your fingers. Connect to the next one. There you go. That's nice. All the way around. See it? Can you see that? All the way around. All that way around. That's nice. See that seal? Same thing on the exhaust. See that nice seal? Because that's where the exhaust is made. It's got that big flange on it. Because they're actually made, the exhaust is actually made a little beefier than the intake valves. But the intake valve, she's got a nice cut on her, and she's got a nice seal. This is going to work out really well. So I'm going to continue and do the rest, but that's how I lap them in. And oh, I forgot to tell you, run the drill both directions when you're cutting these in, on all of them. Don't just do it one direction. That's why, it mimics, you guys have all seen the little suction cups with little, and you're lapping it in, you're going back and forth, you're grinding in, go both directions. It helps. It'll make a little bit of a home job. Okay, I just wanted to show you the first one. See how they all lapped in. And if you guys have been following this, you know that there's a couple of these cylinders that were completely rusted, almost shut, and you didn't think that they would come around, but they came around. And so now we'll do this other one same way, but it's a little bit of work, time, and it came out. They turned out pretty good. So did these valves. A lot of these valves were pitted, and a a lot of these valves were pitted, and look at there. That's nice. So, and all the exhaust turned out really good. That's nice seal, but we still have to clean it because you can't just leave the compound in there. You got to clean this all back up. So we'll give it some more brake clean. We'll clean it back up, and then we are going to give her another hit with WD-40. Make sure everything is clean, and then we're going to do springs. Okay, so the next thing to do on those heads is the springs, and this is a kit from Summit. It is kit number 17401. It's for 490 lift springs, 490 lift advertised duration cam. So these will handle the majority of all your flat tappets, and the kit, your valve seals, all of them are like that, because like those heads were just half and half. They were the umbrella and those on the intakes. All your springs, and the one thing doesn't come with it, you're going to have to go back to your gasket set with. It comes with these little rubber seals for the valves, which go in between the valve, and that goes in between the valve and the retainers. So that's our set. That's what we need to get working on this, and so let's put on some springs. Okay, first thing we're putting on is we're putting on the valve seals, and this came with 16 of these really nice seals, and they just press on with your finger. You can just put them on just like that. And you might, if you want to, give them a little soft, itty-bitty baby tap with a hammer once you get done. But you just press them on. And if you guys remember, these heads came with the intake valves had this kind of seal on them, but the exhaust valves had the umbrella seals, the shitty plastic umbrellas, which basically just crumbled in your hand. So, and if you want to just double check they're all the way on, you can give them a little half spin. Make sure they're all seated, and they all are. And then I still have remember, you keep everything lined up, okay? So everything lined up. So you give each one of them their own little thing right here, just like this. All right, and the valve springs are unisex. They go top or bottom. Doesn't matter which way they go. And then we have our valve stem seals. We have our retainers. We have our locks. Then we have our valve seals, our retainers, and our locks. Okay, so now these don't like pushing through these while they're dry. So I always just take either a little small, like a spray can cup full of Marvel or engine oil, and just dip them in there to give them a little lubrication to get through. And the extra lubrication on the ends also helps hold your locks in place. All right, like I said, this is just the filler neck of an old bottle of, and we're just going to dip them in. That's Marvel Mystery Oil, by the way. Okay, valves are in, and the valves are not being held up by anything, and they are seated. Those seals are so new, they are nice and tight, and so that little bit of oil helps that go through. I actually had to take this one back out because it actually pushed it off the pedestal. So, but all right, so this is the way it should look once you have all your seals and your valves in place. All right, so the next thing is retainers, locks, keepers, springs. Okay, next thing is the valve seals. They go on the second groove, not the first groove, but the second groove. And they basically just go over the edge, and they're kind of square. And you just get them in there, and that little bit of oil helps that get where it needs to go. It's hard to do one-handed. Anyways, we'll get it there. We'll show you it there, just like that. And then you spin it, make sure she's flat, and that oil will help it spin in place. And you just make sure that they're on there nice and flat. You do all 8 of them at once, okay? Because these valves ain't coming back out because the springs are going on. We'll do another one here. That oil really helps get this assembled. Quick tip for beginning. Okay, so your spring compressor, whether it's manual, pneumatic, electric, whatever it is, it's going to have an adjustable pocket for your retainer and your spring. You just want to make sure that you have it set where she's sitting nice and solid in there, because it's going to be upside down when we do this like this. You just want to make sure that she's got good, because I had to adjust this a little bit because it has, and that's all the adjustment there is. But that makes it where it's a lot easier to control, so that just it won't bind and bend and move around on you. Just a little quick tip. All right. Now we have to do this. We'll get the lithium grease out here on each one of these. And the lithium grease is just to help the retainers stick. All right, retainers. All right, and then keepers. And then spring. And like I said, springs are unisex, so you can go either way with them. All right, and we just put them in the pocket. And we lock it in. And we compress it. Enough? Yeah. Then we put the... Nope. Is it enough? Or do I need to move it?
I had to do this last time.
Yep.
I have to shimmy it in the hole. It's in the groove.
You can go with that one off of a reference point.
Yeah.
Do you need a little bit more stroke? Look about right?
Yeah. Just
Okay.
slowly see what happens.
We'll slowly release it. Oop, that was not very slow.
I wasn't very slow, but thank God it's in there.
Is it in there?
It's in there.
Okay, and then, yep. And then we got 14 more to go. Okay, and what I always like to do, I like to tap them with a hammer just to make sure they set. And everything is even. See, everything is caught. And then, height-wise, bada boom, bada bing, boom. Okay, so now we go to head number 2. All right, you want to know a quick and easy way to make sure that your valve job is good? All right, we're just going to take this was like a $1 bill, isopropyl alcohol, and we're just going to pour a little bit in this cylinder. We're just going to fill it up and see if we get any leaks. It's about that simple. I know I've seen guys blow air, do whatever, but if we're going to have a problem, it's going to leak out. And we're in the dry, okay? So you want to know how you get that back out, just do whatever. So if you don't want to waste a bunch of alcohol, you just take an old syringe and you suck it up and you move to the next one. It's a little time consuming, but doing it with alcohol is a hell of a lot cheaper than, doing it with gas. So I'm just going to continue this and check all these, but that's how you can just easily check. You just use alcohol because, alcohol will evaporate on its own. And so you can use gasoline. You can use whatever you want, but I'm just going to save myself the money because I know this will evaporate. The other reason I like using alcohol to clean or to leak test heads is because it's also cleans great. You would think that these heads, after everything I've done, were clean. Nope. There's still goo and junk and everything coming out of these, but now they're ready to go on the truck, on the engine. So let's start stabbing these heads. That's what I want to show you. This is how I've been cleaning all these parts. This is just a 25-cent Dollar General pan. There's 2 of them, just in case one has a leak. And this works great for rocker arms, nuts and bolts. These are the heads bolts are soaking. This is lacquer thinner, or you can use paint thinner, or you can use acetone, whatever you want to. But just a simple bath will take all the old grit off. It'll dissolve it all. Did the same thing with the push rods. Push rods love this. So 25 cents, twice, and I think the lacquer thinner was $8. Best cleaner in the world. Try it. Okay, we're about to put the heads on. Now, what I do when I put heads on or I take them off is I leave one center bolt in the head just to keep it in place. Okay, now we're going to clean all of these, but I want to talk about these right here. I want to talk about these right here. Okay, so this is, you need to clean all of them with a wire brush. They come with junk on them, and there's two areas I want you to pay most attention to. That's under the head of that bolt to make sure there's no debris, and on the threads, because we're going to use thread sealer because you're going through a water passage. But these need to be clean, and they need to be clean compared to, like, say this. See how nasty and grody and how there's so much junk up underneath in there? They need to be cleaned, all of them, on a wire brush, all of these. But we're going to put these heads on, and I'm going to use a one center bolt to hold them in place while I get everything else set. Okay, and then we'll pull this back out once we get some more bolts in. I'll put some thread sealer on there, and we'll put some stuff underneath the heads to torque them with. But the most important, you need to clean all the old debris off of these threads and underneath the head. Okay, so the way a small block Chevy head is set up is it's got 7 bolts in the center, which are the longer ones, and 2 on each corner, which are shorter, and then it has 8 on the bottom ridge of the head underneath the exhaust, where the exhaust hangs. So they're all cleaned up, and like I said, they've all the threads have been completely cleaned out of all the old debris, and underneath the heads have been buffed and deburred and cleaned so that we get a good torque reading on these heads. Now, I know you guys are going to scream about this, at the 400 horsepower, 350, 400 horsepower possible from this engine if it doesn't go bang. Why would you not buy studs, ARP, blah, 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 blah? Listen, GM on the 350, 375 horse Corvette, Camaro, Chevelle motors, the big blocks, they didn't use anything special. They used what they had on the shelf, and they lasted for decades, okay? So there's no reason for me to spend the money for an ARP stud kit if I'm not going over, say, 500, 550 horsepower with some serious cylinder pressure, okay? Stock OEM head bolts will work just fine in an application like this. There's no reason. Now, if we ever go 300, 400, 500 horsepower kits, things like that, supercharged, any kind of forced induction, any kind of nitrous kit, yeah, we're probably going to go studs, and we're probably going to go as big and as beefy as we can, as strong as we can, because there's going to be so much cylinder pressure for each bang of that cylinder. But for this, for naturally aspirated, there's no reason to spend the money for ARP stuff. There's just no reason to do it. Okay, so the cylinder heads are on, and there is no wrong way. There's no right or left side. They all go on the same. But you just make sure that these corners and these corners all line up with your bolt holes, okay? Just make sure everything is right. And see, this is just so here and here, you want to make sure they're on the studs. They're centered in the holes. You can take your finger and feel around. Everything looks like it's about right. And the reason I like these is they're very forgiving. They're sticky on both sides, and they're a little bit thicker than normal. The blue stripes are, which is, we did the home decking on this. And so because of the stickiness and the thickness, it'll help seal them up better, even if it's just a little bit off. All right, like I said, stabbing these heads that's the easy part. And I'm going to have my one bolt right here, dead center, because I'm going to put it in that bolt hole right there, just to hold the head just in place, just to make sure there isn't a problem. Do like this, and you're just sticking it on the dowel, just like that, okay? And then I'm going to take this bolt, and I'm going to get threaded in the threads. Okay, and the reason I put this on here, this one on here, and it's basically just to hold it in place. Okay, so because I had a friend drop one on his foot one time, and it was not pretty, all right? But it's on the dowel pins, and she's already pretty tight on the block. You just grab a exhaust port and the intake port, and you just kind of find your dowel pins, There we go. Then we're going to take one bolt, dead center, thread it in for safety. Yep, that's pretty dry, but it's done. But these really did turn out really nice. Okay, and how we're going to do this is, okay, now remember, there are 7 long ones and 2 short ones on the end. So we're just going to take a little bit of thread sealer. All right. And since we already got the goop on the spot, we're just going to work this in. And we're just going to do this on all the bolts. And you just got to put just a little bit. This will seal it up. It's just like going through a water pump. And you just get it started because we're doing this because we're going through a water jacket. So anytime you go through a water jacket, you want to use some kind of sealer. And it's just always a good idea just to do that. All right, you just do the same thing on the bottom 4. And I usually go a little bit heavy on the bottom 4 because that's where the most of the water is sitting. It's towards the bottom end of the cylinder just because of gravity. So we'll give it not a lot more, just a little extra on the bottom 8. All right, and I'm just going hand tight right now. I'm not going any kind of squish on it. I'm just putting them in hand tight and just double checking, just getting them cinched down, because after this, we're going to go with torque wrench. Okay, on a standard small block Chevy head, it's 40 pounds to the first hit, 60 to 70 pounds in the second hit, okay? So, and the way it works is you work from the center bolt and you work circularly out, all right? So, center bolt first, 40 pounds. And, all right, and the thing about torquing is always pull. Don't ever push. Think about it. Your chest muscle and your back muscle, which one's bigger? Your back muscle. So pulling, you're always going to be stronger pulling than pushing. So first hit's 40, and we're just going to go round robin. All right, so one down here. We're working from the inside out. All right. And then we go here. Like I said, we're just working from the inside out. Back on the bottom to here. All right. To here. 40 pounds ain't hard. To here. To here. To here. To the last one on the outside edge. See how loose that got? Torquing them down. All right, 40. Last one on the outside here. 40. Last one here. 40. Last one here. 40. All right. Then once you've done that, you can go back through here and just double check. 40. Just make sure you haven't missed one. You can go all the way across. Oh, and you see, I'm using the extension. I've had this extension forever, but I don't suggest a long extension. I suggest the shorter the better, because longer extensions tend to twist. Even the good old ones tend to twist just a little bit. So if you want as good a reading as you can, as best reading you can would be here, but there isn't room to use it straight here. So you're going to have to use a little bit of extension. So, all right. So that's 40 pounds. So we're going to go up one more. There's 50. And up one more. There's 60. And if you want to split the difference, there's 65. Lock it in. So where it's, I've always just, you know, this kind of head, you can just go 65 pounds. You see how much that moved? That was about a quarter of a turn. That's that head gasket compressing and just putting a squish to it. All right. And then, like I said, we're just going from the center out. Yeah. In a circular motion. All right, I gotta move you a little bit. Get out of the way. All right. All right. All right. And you have just now successfully torqued a set of cylinder heads to 65 foot-pounds, which is what the book says, 60 to 70, and I always have just split it, never had a problem. So, and if, like I said, if you want to go back through, just double check, go through, double check your work, make sure she all clicks, make sure you haven't missed one, but that's how you do it. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Everything's got sealant going through the water jacket. Everything is torqued. Okay, I wanted to show you something here. All right, now, you never put your torque wrench up under load. It's zeroed out to 0 pounds. That 10, 20, 30, 40, and so this is zeroed. This is ready to put back in the case. You don't ever leave your torque wrench set. Here ends the lesson. We are about ready to go. I got my lifters in the bowls. We're going to drown them in oil and let them sit for a little while. I went and got some Lucas assembly lube from the sun down at O'Reilly's, and we're going to use this for the bottom of those and to do a little bit of extra stuff. I got my lithium. I got my black sealant, push rods, rocker arm studs, and nuts all right here, ready to go, all checked, everything checked for cracks, cleaned, ready to go. All right, now I normally don't do this because I have a priming tool that I use in the distributor, but these, as soon as I pour the oil on them, see, air bubble, they are actually filling, bubbling up, and don't worry about leaving them out like this, because once we put them in, we're going to take the oil and put them in the valley. But it's always never a bad idea to soak your lifters in your oil and just let them sit for a while and just let all the little air bubbles and all the little crevices inside those lifters get. Hey, now comes the fun part, or the funner parts. Okay, so what we're going to do is now we have to get the heads torqued. We are going to install the lifters, and they've been soaking in oil for a couple of hours, which means all the air bubbles is gone. And this is the leftover cam lube, break-in lube, that was left over. So we're just going to take them already dripped in oil, and we're just to make sure, we're going to put a little extra cam lube, let everything cut in real good, because you know how everybody has been talking about how lifters have been dying. Well, I'm going to try to stop that. The reason I bought the Summit kit, because Summits are still made in USA. Comp cams, and unfortunately, from what I understand from the online, now I don't know for sure, but from what I understand, most of the manufacturers are getting their stuff produced in China, and I'm just not trusting the productability of it. So I think that's where we're getting our hits. And then once it's been soaking, you can that'll get an inch case. I got the crank and everything covered already in, but And then once you get that done, you just can throw it away, because we'll just take the next batch. I'm gonna run them in the lube, put them in the holes, just a little extra protection, just because. But that's why I chose Summit brand, because Summit is still made in the USA, and that I trust. I don't buy a lot of parts. Now, if I buy parts on Amazon, I buy AC Delcos. I buy brands that I know. I don't buy Chinese knockoffs. I don't buy that kind of stuff. All right. So while our hands are nice and oily, let's push some push rods in. Since we got some oil, we can just get on our fingers since our hands are clean. And I have a tendency, see how that's got that wear spot on it from being in the head before? I'll just flip them. I just have just my little thing. Yep, we're just going to flip them. Put that down and let that start a new wear spot on a used push rod, which I don't know if you've seen, but I checked all of these for straightness on a piece of glass. So they're all straight. There's no bent push rods. I actually found, out of all the ones that I had, I found 3 bent ones, which doesn't surprise me. I mean, that's the way the world is. But it's just very simple. You just take a pane of glass and you roll them on the pane of glass, and if you see them go bonk, 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 you have a bent one, and we don't want to use the bent one. But so what's next? Rocker arms to studs and balls. All right, and I'm going to do something a little different with these. Is that these are all just out of the pile. I've checked them all, make sure there's no bad breaks or anything wrong with any of them. Since these are all mixed up, hodgepodge together, and all the nuts and bolts are changed up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another bowl, then I'll show you. All right, since these are all brand new for those cups, there's not even a chance. I'm not even taking a chance on any of them being, well, what you would call, yep, okay. I'm just going to use some of this Lucas assembly lube, all right? And we're going to put this on there. We're going to help, once we start moving things around, start setting things so that it helps these balls cut in and learn its new place. Does that make sense? Because you know the old days, we take them apart, we take an old coat hanger, and we make sure that these and the nuts would all stay together, the rocker arms and it would just all stay together, right? Well, I didn't do that. I just threw them all in a bucket, and I picked the best ones I could find out of the bucket. And so we're going to let this, with a little assembly lube, cut itself into its new rocker arm. I don't know any other way to say it. So, yeah, because we're doing things like we're doing, we are kind of breaking some rules from way back in the day. We are and we aren't. That makes sense? We are and we aren't. Okay, so, yep. What we got going on here? Oh, okay. There we go. Okay. Another bowl throwaway. Actually, I kind of like that. I kind of like that Lucas. I mean, I haven't got a hold of a Lucas product yet that wasn't really good. So you guys tell me, you guys ever had some bad luck with Lucas? Because I haven't. But this is what it's called. High Performance Assembly Lube, semi-synthetic, eliminates dry starch. And it does. It's sticky. Like syrup. Which, what Lucas product isn't sticky like syrup, but man, I tell you what, I've never had a bad product from these guys. And the last thing to do is put these in. Now remember that that's up. The flat side goes against the flat side of the rocker ball. Okay. Flat side goes against the flat side of the rocker ball. The rocker ball, the round side goes down. Flat side goes up. So this is your adjustment for your rocker arms. Oh, I don't like it. And I don't know if you just saw that. That one didn't want to thread on that one, but that one threaded in just fine. Then it threaded just on fine on this one. So their rocker arm nuts are they're cattywampus. They kind of have a mind of their own. They do whatever. But normally, if you got one that doesn't want to go on, you just switch to the next stud. It'll fit, just like you just saw. And these are actually, they aren't perfectly round. They are kind of a press fit. Okay, so they, from the factory, and if you get one that's really loose, or you get one that gets where it doesn't want to stay locked in, just whack it with a hammer. And it'll oblong it just enough. And I don't mean a big whack. I mean just give it a hit with a hammer, and it'll be just enough to get it where it'll bite again on the stud. But we can get kind of close. We just want to get, I just want to run them down till they got full thread hit. Hey, while you're here and you're watching, like, share, subscribe, smash that button, hit that bell, tell your friends about me. I appreciate every one of you guys that are out there watching my videos. But this one is just to get grandma used to drag racing. That's what this is for. And this is just, like I said, I've got under $500 in on this deal. I've used a bunch of old parts, culled out a bunch of bad parts, and we're going to see if we can have a little fun with this. And if I blow this thing up, or if it starts up and it goes ka-chunk, I ain't really out nothing, because everything on this thing, everything that I put into this thing, the heads, the camshaft, if that crank in there doesn't want to go, if it doesn't hold oil pressure or whatever, I can just move all this stuff over to a new engine. The good engine. So, but this ought to be a lot of fun. I'm really curious to see what this thing does once I fire it off. Okay, so I'm just going to get you in here. And this is number one right here, right? And we're going to turn this thing. So right now it says it's either top dead center intake or top dead center exhaust. I don't know which. So let's do a little spinach. And we'll see how she hits. Okay. There is exhaust opening. All right. And there is exhaust closing, intake about to open. All right. So, see how much we got here? All right. So, how do you set these? The easiest way to do it right now is just by hand while you're here. Since we know they're both on the bottom stroke and we know those lifters are full of oil. So, we're just going to tighten this down. All right. See how she's moving a little bit? All right. And that's good enough to start. That's good enough to start it. All right. And see, we got a lot of movement here. So we can tighten it down quite a bit. All right. All right. There we go. Now we ain't got no movement left. We got a little bit. See? And as a matter of fact, I could get this off just a little bit. See, just like that. That's what I like to do to start up. Okay, so now if I did my job right, because those lifters are kind of pumped up. There's an exhaust intake valve opening. There's intake valve closing. There's an exhaust valve opening and exhaust valve closing. All right. And And I'm sure somebody has some other better version of thing of doing this, but this is what I do. All right, so now as far as I'm concerned, that's good enough for starting. Okay, so then we'll go to this one and we'll do the same thing. We'll do it all the way around. Okay, and when you think you have them all about right, bring it up to whether that's intake or exhaust, which that's probably going to be exhaust. So bring it up to the mark. And you remember, it's 2 turns for a full rim, and you think you got them all pretty much set where you want them. Bring it around 1 turn, which will be half of the rotation of the cam. Okay. Then you just go through and you double check, see if you got any loose ones. Okay. Then once you do that, then you come back down here and you give it another 1 turn. All right. And this is your double check after you think you have everything right. Never hurts to double check. It'll come back to the mark to 0. All right. And then we'll do it again. We'll double check. Yep. Got a couple loose ones. And all I'm doing, this is just for startup. This is just for startup. Because we're going to reset these when the engine is running. Now you have set your valve lash for initial startup. Okay. So, all right, I'm going to get this in here real close. And this is the rocker arm geometry that I have on this head with those rocker arms. And they're all basically the same. So we're going to spin this. So right now it's on 0 lobe, which means there's no lift on either one. So this is going to be the exhaust coming up here once I get this moving. And we'll go real slow and we'll see what she do. All right. Looks dead center to me. Looks like we're pretty good. It just doesn't seem like that's a lot of lift, does it? But it's not a lot of lift, but it's the duration that it's open. All right. And then it opens back up and it's on the edge. So I think we're good. I think we're not going to have any interference problems. I don't have anything getting close to the lifter or to the spring, to the rocker arms. I think we're good to go. So if you're still here, smash that like button. If you've liked all of this and you want to know more, comment down below, because if you got any questions about anything I've done, see, this is just all just for fun. It's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed putting this engine or this long block together. The short block, I didn't do much except put a oil pump on it, but it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed this, and I hope you guys have too. Check out unclebuckstuff.com if you'd like to help the channel out, buy a t-shirt or a hat, something like that. Y'all have a great day, because a great day today can be a fresh built motor in the morning. Y'all be good.